does. Like, I feel like that's one of those cases where you just go, I mean, you say it's a scrub mistake, and it kind of is, but it's like one of those, it's one of the basics you should have, like, this should never happen. But at the same time, you're like, I get why this happened in this case. And so you just go, okay, we can't let this keep going through. But we did a lot of really good things throughout that game. The fact that it even made it to 20, I think, is still a huge moment for them. It is still scary, though, losing a map on Infernal Shrines because LagF has been comfortable there. BOE, we talked about the laning situation with those going forward. But at the end of the day, if I'm Lag Force, I'm looking for game number 2. I'm like, our odds of winning this series, at least taking a game a lot higher. And even the series, I feel like it's not out of the realm after that last game. I'm not so impressed for Roll20.
Yeah, for Roll20, I think their takeaway should be, we heard from Prismaticism that they didn't really think too much of the team fighting of Lag Force. And it is obvious that Lag Force still maintains whatever dominance that we knew for a long time for them to be specifically in team fighting. That is still there, and it needs to be respected, because there were multiple times when things went really right for Lag Force when they were behind, just because they knew where they needed to team fight, and they were not afraid to get right back into the fight, catching them up, getting the first keep. I think they got the first keep, right? You got top.
No, that was actually no. I went the other way. Sad
Nearly getting the first keep.
We can just bend the rules, though. That's how it works, right? We can just say that things happen in order to justify our points. That's what happens when you're the all-knowing voice that is, in fact, Dreadnought and Gillyweed up here. You know, we just say it is fact, boys.
And so it shall be. They got the keep. The end. We're moving on to game number 2.
Ask me who wins BlizzCon. Got that one scripted in the old back. We got Josh working on that one for you boys right now.
Yeah, he's also working on being able to see the global progress of Cheers. So let's check out that, and then he'll make sure to jot the last few things down on the chalkboard.
We'll
we gotta give him that time. Yeah, as soon as he's done, we'll let you know. That's how it works, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and well, as you see right now, we've allotted that we're at the 17.5 million mark.
You guys rock.
Rocking it up. We're almost to the Arcane Chaos Lizard, and then soon to be the Deadly Chaos Lizard.
I know that's what you care about.
That's the one.
Deadly one.
The Deadly one. I do not. What was the other one's name? I don't know.
Arcane?
I was more appreciative of the fact that naming those has got to be more fun than Crayola crayons, right? Like, you not only do you get one word where it's like mac and cheese orange, but you get to be double the word. You can be Deadly Chaos Lizard.
Where's the Dreadly Chaos Lizard?
You can Dreadlord Jaina. I mean, where's the Dreadnoughty Lord Jaina? Hello? Blizzard, please.
That one we're not allowed to have.
Why? Gosh, there are so many opportunities to meme off my name. I'm just not that cool.
You have things like Rising Dread, right? There's talents and stuff.
I mean, a little bit, yeah.
Growing Dread. There's a Cho'Gall one in there somewhere.
Is there?
Yeah.
Every time I think of Cho'Gall, the only thing I can think of is like punning Gall with Cho. You know, like Cho's got a lot of Gall. Like, that's the only thing I can think of. Is that bad? Like, every single time I see his name.
Dad jokes from Dreadnought.
Dreadnought.
Yeah. We got game number 2 about to be ready between Roll20 and Lag Force. We're going to be going soon to Tomb of the Spider Queen.
Tomb of the Spider Queen. That has to be a Roll20 choice. I can't say that with a fact, because I do want to say Lag Force has actually busted out the wild higher priority of Tomb of the Spider Queen recently. Might be actually insane on that one. But Roll20 has essentially since, what was it, the Eastern Clash, even mid-season brawl, where am I thinking of here? That they ended up getting an international performance, and then suddenly it's been the higher priority coming out from them.
Mid-season brawl.
Mid-season brawl.
Yeah, because that's where they beat MVP Black. That's where they shut out MVP Black. And then all of a sudden it was like, do we have a new favorite map?
Yeah, is this us? Are we going to 2?
Yeah, I would guess that Lag Force chose first pick, and then Roll20 would take us to Tomb of the Spider Queen. But honestly, we've had a lot of teams be more willing to pick Battleground choice after losing. Even Tempo Storm has done that now twice, both versus Gale Force and Roll20 in order to pick Dragonshire. But in this case, Lag Force did choose first pick, and Roll20 is taking us to Tomb.
Makes me really happy whenever we see kind of huge shifts in paradigms for competitive teams, especially, you know, when it comes to things, even as much as are we going to pick the first pick, or are we going to concentrate on the map selection? Lag Force, though, one thing that still does hold true is Medivh's a no-go. They don't want to deal with Roll20 and that hero on a map like Tomb. What do we see from Roll20 though? The Genji hover seems to be the focus still for them.
Which would traditionally lead toward a Tassadar first pick for Lag Force.
You're getting wild with this one, Gilly.
And then Roll20.
A Garrosh Uther.
Uther.
But we didn't see that last time.
I know we had Uther Chromie, and I wonder if that would happen again.
So it's a map where technically the Chromie should be higher of value because the tri-laning would be more dominant. The defense into the front line would be a little bit more outstanding. So with that in mind, we get best of both worlds. The Chromie with the Garrosh. See, I thought last game it would be that transition if they were going to go into that. The Garrosh plus whatever, not the Uther plus the Chromie. So,
I think it's because this Battleground, Roll20 has been more willing to flex into Stukov with Garrosh. Granted, they'll do it, I think, anywhere, but where they played it more often was on Tomb. Yeah, they comboed Garrosh and Stukov both games along with Chromie. But
big impact's got his Tracer. Gonna give the pew-pew over to the members of Roll20. And then they got the Rhaegar with that Lightning Bond for Tonster, get that wave clear up into the 1-4. So Tomb of the Spider Queen Tracer has been a surprisingly more common thing on the international level. Gilly, do you have an argument for it other than just being Task Tracer and annoying?
My guess is because you want to be able to get the early turn-ins. The early picks that you can get with Tracer is enough to enable you to deny a lot of the gems from them if you pick high-profile targets that are holding onto the gems. Then you get the picks, you get your first turn-in, you hopefully have it set up in a way that you can get the second turn-in and Snowball. She provides a lot of mobility, which means she can be able to stop turning in. Same with Tassadar, both of them are excellent at that. And Tassadar, because he has good wave clear, can kind of make up for what Tracer lacks in that department.
So you're telling me that if I'm Roll20, I consider the early game at all costs here. I got to be patient about my early game, and as long as I avoid that, win in the wave clear, I'll be all right.
You bet.
So the Johanna ban makes a bit more sense from the members of Roll20 then. Removing the only frontline warrior that can make up for their lack of wave clear. Now the only other option that they go into would have to be a Leo, but if you go into the Leo, then you don't have a warrior into your 4-man, which means you lack all kill potential in pretty much any zoning capabilities whatsoever. Your Tracer is a lot more vulnerable. It suddenly makes the double warrior seem that much higher priority for the members of Lag Force here, or at least a main warrior committing to their 4 while they have that off roll doing its thing.
While you were talking, I looked at the drafts again for Roll20.
Yeah.
Everything is Garrosh Uther all the time except Tomb, and there it's Garrosh Stukov. I think that Roll20 are perfectly fine with that Uther ban.
Greymane Stukov. I just, you know, you just sat there with that grin, so proud of yourself. And you know, the worst part is I'm proud of you too. That was a good one. You nailed it.
Thanks, Dadnot.
Just got it. Perfect analysis here on that Stukov. Bust it out. We'll see if I've got it. Is it going to, in fact, be the double warrior? Because I feel like this is going to be an awkward Leo, like, Murden. And, you know, Beak is going to be doing his best on the side lane, like, getting the soak. But at the end of the day, they just don't have enough going on in their 4.
Malthael.
Still, it could be the direction. Either way, the frontliner can't make up for the wave clear. Leo, I think, has to be that side roller now that the Johanna was banned. I know that seems weird, but I actually feel like it does. It maybe not a has to be, but the odds of it being successful are a lot higher because somebody has to make up for the wave clear. Because I called it a side roller?
Yeah, I immediately thought of a high roller, and then I thought of Leoric, like, you know, hanging out at a casino or whatever, doing what he does, you know. He's got the hat and everything. But no, Dahaka and Noob, we're both wrong.
Neither has wave clear. Dahaka, I mean, a bit of wave clear.
He's not all right.
I'm talking, it's more of like in the sense of like, because he's going to be off on his own, we don't really care about the wave clear. We only care about his lane matchup here, which again, we assume Roll20, I mean, right now I would guess this has got to be a Malthael, but then I don't like its team fight capabilities as much, but I would auto assume that because of the Dahaka on one side of the table, or the Leo for themselves.
Are they going to do the Diva trick again?
I hope it's Leo. Or the Diva. Yeah, you're right. They were willing to last pick that Diva. Wasn't that Tomb too?
Yeah. And then you into the fray, the mecha explosion.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. Every 30 seconds having the option to flip that one away. I personally hope they go with the Leoric over it. They go back to the D.Va. Gilly just nailing it. Double the analysis.
All I did was
Legend.
say the things that they picked last time on Tomb.
All I talked about was Double Warrior. They ended up getting that on the side of Lag Force, but my biggest thing here is the lack of Leo for both sides of the table. More so for Lag Force, I feel like we're going to see be a problem. The Dahaka is going to be off on his own, getting the side soak, doing his thing. Task Tracer is going to be looking for the kills. And you talked about the early game pressure, getting those gems, making things happen in that avenue. If you fail in that avenue, traditionally you're like, that hurts, you know. But we still have a chance to be able to win this game as long as you get the proper picks in certain areas. Unless you lose in wave clear really, really heavily. Then if you do that, suddenly you pretty much have to do it. Like it suddenly makes you almost Tyrande level of focus, right? Because you're wave clear, you need to be able to get those kills. And I feel like, again, because of the ban on the JoJo, the double frontline not having the wave clear, Dahaka is going to be doing his best to stop the bleeding, but the whole time he's going to be off doing his own thing. And then Task Tracer is going to go in for a kill, fail, immediate to punishment. It's just, I cannot hype up how cool that secondary ban on Johanna was. It was like sleeper. One of the best bands I've ever seen.
Low-key amazing.
10 out of 10.
Let's do it. Game 2 between Roll20 and Lag Force. Let's see if Lag Force can tie it up, or if Roll20 will go up 2-0.
Last time, they ended up using the D.Va here for Goku. It looked good. It didn't look as good as you would expect for Roll20, especially Roll20. Roll20 being a team that's known for its niche compositions, but the few that they're known for, they do it better than almost everybody else in the world, not even just North America. They just do it well. And it didn't look as crisp as we would assume, so I'm hoping to see, you know, just a couple of the awkward moments of last time be smoothed out here against Lag Force.
The nice thing about having a D.Va versus Tracer is you can kind of bait into using the Pulse Bomb when you are a low mecha, and because you know you're going to be able to come out in the human form still. It's not as much experience, it's not a full death is the big thing. But it also can be really bad if that mecha gets dragged in, if it's stun locked and taken out, and then D.Va pops out in her pilot form, and you've got Pulse Bomb waiting for her on the other side. And even if you were to get Nano Weave Suit, because Quantum Spike does % base damage, it can still cut through that as she jumps out. So I'm excited to see the Tracer D.Va dynamic in this game number 2.
There's going to be the flip combo onto Zuna. Not able to see Stukov hit the lurking arm, and maybe within the time frame that we're hoping to see here from Buds. But that is the thought process here behind that combination. Again, this is not the first time we've seen the members of Roll20 kind of flaunt this strategy. On the bottom lane, or the laning, just in general, the laning setup, there is still a burrow charge away from this, so Zuna's going to be okay. But the fact that Dahaka up on the bottom in the Goku matchup here, Dahaka should be able to pull ahead quite a bit over the long run, but it puts a lot more pressure for the members of Lag Force to be doing well into their 4-man that has 0 wave clear, or less wave clear, and is more kill potential focused. I love the fact that they were willing to start with the offlane, not meeting in mid. That's something that Lag Force surprisingly is better at than almost every team in North America. If they are losing it, they always stop the bleeding in the first wave.
Dahaka is stalking in. Pulse Bomb hits Prismaticism, but the healing pathogen was there. Dahaka, he must have gotten boosted out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Immediately. Nice flip for Justing. Not going to gain anything for the teams. Lag Force is doing a good job gaining control over these laning, over the laning situation. That was my biggest concern for this game, was that they would not be controlling the first couple of rotations between mid and top half of the map, but they are very much doing so far.
The last time that Roll20 played this style of composition, having Chromie stay in mid and Greymane in the top, the members of, I believe it was Tempo Storm, weren't able to put the kind of pressure on that Tracer is doing now from Lag Force, and that is to not let them just stand out in the middle of the lane and hold the minion waves and not let them drain the ammo. She has done this now with a Pulse Bomb on Prismaticism, but also just pressuring the Grey Mane in the top lane to make sure that the waves are still getting pushed as much as they can do into the towers.
Buds might have just done something that saved his life there with that silence and lurking arm. It interrupted the burrow charge on Zuna, which might be the thing that ended up keeping him alive, sending it to a small reset there for a moment. When it comes to gems, though, for these teams, 41 have been turned in with the Roll20 after that coin dump there. Nice flip onto Zuna, burrow charge away. Goku does have the Mecha Explosion, not going to drop it. B-Kid ends up getting himself a drag. That's going to be a human form Goku. The peeling is there. Justin gets the flip. Big impact, though. Hits the pulse bomb, and that is first blood for LagF.
That is exactly what I was hoping to see from LagForce. Goku did not want to use the Mecha Explosion, but yet was low in the Mecha health. The drag comes in, the stun lock was there, and then capturing her when she's in her pilot form. Silence does a lot of damage to Zuna, who gets pulled back in with a Groundbreaker.
Going in melee form, though, might end up costing him his life there. He's walking away, and the knockup from Zuna is enough. Now, Biggie just popping Q after Q with the silence coming out from Buds. Thought it might be the beginning of the end. Beautiful dimensional shift away from iDream. We find ourselves with it just end up one kill here for LagF. But Roll20's got to turn it.
Believe LagForce made it out of all that up, but they lose.
You know, they didn't quite make it out there, Gilly. I do not want, you know, I'm not trying to throw in your face or anything, but I think you spoke before a little too soon, just a smidge.
I was counting my chickens before they hatched, and sadly, one of those eggs broke.
LagForce down the Tracer and a Web Weaver phase at this point in time. And our concern was about the early game for this game. With LagForce in their composition being so, you know, Task Tracer dependent, it means more kill dependent. And during this Web Weaver phase, they need to be able to group themselves, make sure they get a kill. Goku is not a hero. They should be able to do that, like, against or into. And that 4-man collapse of all the members of Roll20 on bottom is a brilliant way to focus a different lane other than the traditional of mid, so the members of LagForce slow to rotate, Justin anchoring away the trap there too. Clever rotations, leaving Roll20 gaining more than they would have expected to. Not even done yet, look at that!
That was so nice, knowing where Zuna had to burrow charge in. He had to avoid it then too. Groundbreaker comes in, takes out New Barak. Tomster jets in, grabs a couple of gems, gathering them up in his pockets, but even being able to save the gems, now iDream has been caught with a lot of the members of Roll20 still there, and the whole time the Web Weaver obliterated the first fort in the bottom.
iDream down, a lot of gems. I guess not that many, only a few gems lost. Big impact hitting the heel. B-Kid, though, up on mid, found himself with Glorong. Still 48 gems in the hands of LagForce, but we got to be keeping note of the experience, the fact that they're half a level away for Roll20 from their heroics. That is enough time to where, because the first Web Weaver phase went over to Roll20, they are out of reach of a secondary turn-in. But because the experience is so heavily in their favor, if they can stall this out, get everybody alive, everybody together with their heroics, they might be able to get enough picks. Like LagForce getting a turn-in of those 51, sneaking it in is very, very difficult. And Roll20 now might be able to set them back a lot of gems, especially if B-Kid gets caught out by a few more drags from Justin.
Early burrow. B-Kid also had to go back and was the person who needed to turn in a lot of his gems, the only other person being Tomster. But with heroic abilities online for Roll20, they have made it through the one spot where LagForce could get a second, or get the secondary turn-in. And this gives Roll20 time to pick up the last few gems that they need, make sure that they're pushing out all of the waves in the mid and the top so that they can take out the final remaining forts of LagForce and continue to go about the Tomb of the Spider Queen business.
Up on top, though. Pulse bomb dropped on Glorong. We also haven't, you know, man, I was going to talk about the interaction between the defense matrix and the pulse bomb coming out from the Tracer. But because there is so much emphasis onto the Tracer, I just want to note that that is a really good anti-damage tool that if Goku uses proper, might be a thing that single-handedly loses LagForce a team fight.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on to that ult to where, I mean, it's to the point where, seriously, it could just be one proper defense matrix, much like in a Genji. If it's perfectly timed, you're like, you just won the whole fight. One W's all she wrote.
Yeah, that's true. And they even have the cooldown reduction for that with Aggression Matrix. That is the general standard most often taken at level 7.
What's the best defense?
A good offense.
Hit him with some more offense.
Aggression Matrix.
Second Web Weaver phase here for the members of Roll20. Buds throws down the lurking arm in a bad spot, gets knocked up. Zuna, though, has to pop the cocoon to keep himself alive. Ancestral unable to land. The mecha explosion coming out from Goku doing work, but at the cost of Glaurung's life. Biggie pops himself a recall. We've already killed Buds off there on that Stukov, and now with that flip.
Ruh-roh.
That is now a nice 2-for-2 trade. At the end of the day, a lot gained for Roll20.
Most importantly, that Lag Force was willing to take the fight there because it was an even talent tier. And because Roll20 made sure to equalize out in the kills and keep Lag Force busy, nobody was clearing out the Web Weaver. So both of the forts now go down with the top one being taken out. And the waves pushed so far up against Lag Force. It's going to take them quite a while to be able to defend all of this, and even though Lag Force did get a couple of kills, they are still down another talent tier as they would still like to get their first turn in.
I mean, the one thing here to say that's very impressive from Lag Force is the fact that they do have more than enough gems to be able to get this turn in. After enduring 2 entire Web Weaver phase, losing 3 forts, most teams, especially within North America on Tomb, would, you know, be down a lot of gems and being like, all right, well, we just got to find a way to claw back. There is still that major silver lining here for them, and it's just about whether or not they can buy a window or at least catch the members of Roll20 off goaltending one of those turn-ins too heavy to where they can get that turn-in. I mean, it's a big ask, but it in fact is present, which is something that, again, maybe a lesser team could not claim for themselves.
BK played amazingly in that last fight too, getting the drag that single-handedly made sure that they could take out Glaurung and not being able to get back after that, and then having the right isolation timing to help with the second kill. Lag Force are displaying exactly what we credited them with last weekend, which is very good newfound synergy. And likely it's because they feel like they are a new team. They have a new identity now that they're not under the Naventic name. But it also does seem like out of all of the teams that made these late in the phase role swaps, Lag Force are one of the best, or one of the fastest at being able to show that they've gotten things figured out for the team.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that statement. It is very apparent that Lag Force, out of the role swap, you know, RNG of North America that we've experienced in Phase 2, they are the biggest victors. B-Kid, though, has 41 gems. He can't go, oh man, I thought he might get caught if he went down below. Justin, though not being mounted up, able to get the flip through that fog area. Lag Force survives another day, but they still are now trying to stop this awkward moment that's about to happen here. Once these gems get turned in by Roll20, we're at that area where they're closing in where they're going to be able to get the 16 and a turn in at the same time, unless Lag Force can in fact get the turn in before that threshold. And even if they do, it's going to be hard for them to gain value out of those Web Weavers down to 16 talent here.
Yeah, it's time for Lag Force to get out into the battleground. They're sitting at 105 gems, and that can be a very scary point to try to fight. But before they start losing keeps, they need to get in here and try to make a team fight go advantageously for them. They've made self-destruct be used. There goes the end of the fray. Doesn't hit anybody, though, thanks to the dimensional shift of iDream.
But the dimensional shift being down is something that we might see Justin try and abuse later. That is something that the members of Roll20 have been very good at there with that Garrosh, is keeping track of defensive cooldowns. Flip number 1 onto Zuna. Cursed Bullet being used as well. Keep in mind, not too much damage onto Zuna. That is a really nice way to be able to start this team fight with those cooldowns down. But Lag Force unable to force it yet. They're going to start with the Cocoon.
Yeah, the self-shielding, the Call is Light has been great too. Conquistador, and look at the members of Roll20. Stukov has already been taken out. The mecha is down. Big Shot, though, helping her get that back up, and fast. And Nubarak drops. B-Kid takes a ton of damage, forcing him to use his self-healing of the essence to get back with those 50 gems. He cannot afford to lose them. Goku charges in.
Goku almost has Mecha Explosion too. They need to be careful not to put too much damage into him. If he auto-attacks a minion, it might be enough. He just now got it online. The thrusters are coming off cooldown, but it does not matter. Lag Force, thankful they did not lose too many gems over that skirmish, still having 100 to call their own.
B-Kid snuck in for the turn-in.
Sneaking in, you know, might not be the most appropriate way to describe that, but yeah, you know, he's trying to do his best. And with 108 gems, Black Force, they have to forfeit over this turn-in, right?
It's weird with Flag Force. Generally, yes, but this team has been so willing to fight down talent tiers. Even in Game 1 versus Roll20. We'll just have to see. Theoretically, yes, as you would envision, you don't want to fight into those level 16 talents.
B-Kid's gonna start the channel. Big impacts to the one flip though. Bud's not able to get the silence in time. Mecha Explosion is used, but a recall and 2 dashes were forced there for big impacts. Lag Force has themselves the very first Web Weaver phase of the game, but at what cost? Tuna silenced by the lurking arm, and that bug is gonna be squashed. Roll20 is fighting back here during the Web Weaver phase.
Looks like the cost was indeed the life of Zuna. One single hero, but Roll20 get Web Weavers, and that does force Roll20 to not put everybody immediately at the keep of Lag Force to take out. It gives Lag Force some time for another fight, a better fight, once they can get 16.
Careful. That was so very scary. Justin, you know, with the frequency at the hooks, or if the drags that he's been able to land, the flip, whatever part of the combo, groundbreaker, is that where we're going with? I mean, the fact that he's been so lethal on Garrosh just in general, every time we see him walking out there, I'm just like, oh gosh, I don't care how many defensive you have. You gotta be very careful. But LagF did it. They held on. They have a lot of gems, 99 still in their hands, and they're about to pick up the 16.
Judd, this game and last game, I've been so impressed by Lag Force's willingness to take risks. The risks that they've taken have single-handedly kept them in games for a second game in a row. They just need to make sure that they don't get hit by a 5-man mosh, and this time, there's no ETC on the other side, but there's the Garrosh.
Garrosh, you know, Justin just used it into the fray, and I feel like that's a cooldown we have to keep in mind because it doesn't share the same as the flip of an enemy, and then more importantly, it's a lot of peel for Buds on that Stuka. Whenever that cooldown is down, Big Impact's gonna be flipped, he's taunted. Zuna's gonna get the punishment there. Cocoon is used. Goku gets a lot of damage out with the D.Va, reveals the Cocoon. Buds is on the wrong side though.
Brilliant drag to stop D.Va from being able to explode her mech. Buds gets caught by Big E, who is chasing him down.
That passive use, he survives. Justin's on a bad spot though, hits a 2-man.
They take him down. Garrosh is eliminated. Sandblast nearly spells the end of Dahaka, and Glaurung there to make sure and confirm the kill. Mecha Explosion, and no one can get out of it. Wow! What an explosion!
Fireworks happening here. Prismat, the one setting it off, man. And now Roll20, they're just gonna go ahead and stomp their way down to this keep. For a minute there, Glaurung, you know, got a little hasty there. You saw him second guessing, are we going for core, boys? But he's gonna go ahead, pop the E, go in Worgen form. I don't think this is game.
This is the second game in a row where Lag Force makes some awesome, risky decisions, but calculated ones that allow them to come back to the game. And then Roll20 just makes magic happen. Whether it's a 4-man mosh pit or the biggest mecha explosion I've probably ever seen.
That was definitely in competitive heroes, the best, you know, at least most, I don't even know, eventful explosion from a D.Va mech I have ever witnessed. I think 3 members died all in one big old kaboom here. First
How does this even get set up? Everybody's so low.
And he just maxed and he's like, all right, I guess we're gonna throw her down here.
They're body blocked. They can't get out.
D.Va dies, and then look at Prismat there, man. He was very on point with the skill shots, even getting the W down below, but then his next Q had to be force dodge on the Tracer on her way out, and then hitting himself the W right as she's backing in fog. Everything about that was brilliant play from Roll20.
And that has put them very close to having level 20 and a turn-in to go along with it. Just making sure that Lag Force doesn't get the one fight left before Roll20 hits those Storm Tier talents. Keeping them busy with the bruisers. so many gems were lost, littering the battlefield after the explosion, that there's no concern now for Lag Force getting a second turn in. It's just about getting 20 and getting the web weavers.
Yeah, I mean, we're at the state of the game where it's just, oh, wait a minute. Suna's actually trying to get this force. The 20 has already been met, though, so Roll20 is comfortable turning this. This is not the window that the members of Lag Force necessarily wanted. Good flailing swipe, splitting the members of Lag Force up. Good defense matrix, removing a lot of the damage, and Tracer is down. Justin is going to try and get aggressive moving forward. Tomster going in with the bite and actually getting the self-heal. Justin's going to keep himself alive, drag Tomster back. That is a support down. 4 members of Lag Force are dead. Into the fray is Chromie, and a 5-for-0 wipe. Roll20 is going to take game 2.
I know that feeling well, of thinking you can kill a Garrosh when he's that low in health, but man, as a support, it's going to be very hard for you as Rhaegar to get it, especially with the help of Bud still alive. Roll20 brings down Lag Force in one final fight, and with the Web Weavers will take out the core to go up 2 games in this best of 5.
That was only, man, that was just, I'll bring it up in a little bit, but what a play from Roll20 here in this second game, and from Lag F. The old keep your gems for as long as possible, Tomb of the Spider Queen, I mean, that isn't the official nor the unofficial name, but what I'm going to call it for out of that last one is a strategy that does work. And we haven't seen it a lot in NA, especially when looking at, you know, all of HGC throughout this year. But I feel like Lag F, that was a reasonable time to bring it out when considering the composition and not making the first Web Weaver face pay out. It just, they lose the one fight that comp always presents, and the teeter-totter we were talking about, Task Tracer without wave clear advantage does walk into on a map like Tomb. They lost it. Like, I don't think you can be that upset about that. They did still, again, do a lot of things very, very right. I mean, we didn't have, like, for instance, the initiation we saw on Infernal Shrines on the top Punisher, where it was, like, already over, and then they all in commit. You're like, is this the risk you really need to? Everyone in the last game was right under that threshold. So I feel like Lag F is definitely growing as a squad. It's just not quite there to be able to take out Roll20 on their best maps. And, you know, I am not even talking about the fact we haven't even gone to BOE yet, which I originally thought was where Roll20 would take us. So it's still scary, but Lag F, I'm still more impressed with them than Roll20 after that game.
Yeah, I understand. They've been doing a fantastic job, and they're staying consistent from weekend to weekend, which is just about as much as you can hope for this team that is making a statement for why they deserve to make it out of the Crucible. But can they win a game versus Roll20? We have to go to a break, but we'll find out the answer to that question after the break.
Kel'Thuzad is a ranged burst mage that locks down enemies and devastates them with a powerful combination of spells. Kel'Thuzad's Master of the Cold Dark trait is a baseline quest that increases his power as it's completed. Whenever he roots an enemy with Frost Nova or hits them with his chains, his blight level increases. Once the first crystal has lit up, Kel'Thuzad's ability cooldowns are significantly reduced, and when he's reached the maximum blight level, his spell power increases dramatically. Death and Decay is Kel'Thuzad's first basic ability. After a delay, he launches an orb of death that damages the first enemy it hits, detonating and leaving an area of decay that deals damage over time. Due to its wind-up, Death and Decay benefits from roots and slows, or being fired from a hidden position. Frost Nova is Kel'Thuzad's first crowd control spell. When cast, a circle of runes appears and after a moment explodes, dealing damage to enemies. Depending on an enemy's proximity to its epicenter, the explosion has 2 different effects. Enemies along the edge are slowed, while those in the middle are rooted. Kel'Thuzad's E ability, Chains of Kel'Thuzad, is a skill shot that deals damage to the first hero or structure it hits.